So what did you say? Is this how you start all your pornos?
That's exactly what I said.
On the bed. Mike out. He, what is it? MacBook? Video camera?
They're all like HD now. You maybe just need your phone.
Yeah, phone would probably be better.
Yeah.
Well, I've only got a iPhone X and it's only got a single camera to it. So.
And your sheets probably aren't waterproof enough.
Gold. So, this is episode 169.
Wow.
Good. It's a good number.
It's definitely how you start your pornos.
Significant. Yeah. And this is my younger brother, Mark O'Connor, and he's wearing my clothes because we've been to the gym and you weren't planning on getting changed. That was silly.
I was planning on staying stinky, but apparently it was too bad.
He was saturated.
The flatmate couldn't handle it. So.
No. You've always sweated profusely, Mark.
I don't know whether it's the hair, the genetics, but yes, I sweat profusely. I reckon I've given myself a migraine like multiple times just from sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like when we used to be in RPC, we'd train at this house in the middle of Maribel.
Yeah.
And it's because it was post-earthquake, we had no facilities or anything like that, so it was an old red-stickered house on the edge of Rangiruru College. Going upstairs was a bit dodgy, but so there's no air conditioning, and you'd be doing 90-minute ergs in a 35-degree day with no air movement or anything like that. You'd lose a good 3 kilos through a session and then go home and take on pain relief and hydration just because I'd have like blurred vision.
Pain relief for a headache.
Yeah, because I knew a migraine was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will you ever cross your mind to get on the phone to Glenn Sinclair and be like, can we get the ice vests up here?
Yeah, or either that or the thermostats up the bum just to...
That's from the PE department.
Yeah.
So, did they come with you to China, or they stayed in Dunedin?
The thermostats up the bum? No,
Yeah.
They stayed in Dunedin. Yeah. Yeah.
So, talk us through why Otago Uni heads over to the China as an excuse for the PE department to stick thermometers up boys' bums.
Yeah, I don't know whether the thermometers were first or China was first.
Yeah.
No, I think the president or CEO of Otago Uni Rowing, Glenn Sinclair, he's got a long-standing relationship with a few guys. They used to go to Taiwan every year, so they'd send a men's 8 over there. But I think his contact changed locations or something like that. So in my first year at uni, we got invited to go to China, but like not Beijing or anything like that. We went to Chengdu, which is like right over near the Himalayas, in the right deep in China, and it gets pretty hot there. So there's a guy. Do you remember his name? He's one of the PE postdocs.
No.
He studied stress, and he had some long-standing studies going where, in this instance, he was looking at heat stress or heat training, and they have a climate-controlled room in at the uni where they were testing adaptation and things like that. I'll butcher it when I describe it, but what we did, it was kind of acclimatisation for us, but a chance to be lab rats for the PE school, so we got fully subsidised acclimatisation training, and we did various protocols over the various years. So I think maybe the first year we might have done, well, semi-making this up, but we might have done a longer time in the room with a lower temperature, so maybe like 35 degrees, and then high humidity for 90 minutes in a room. And in order to meet for them to collect data, the best way is to swallow a pill. But that's quite expensive, and then you got to like fish it out of your shit afterwards so that you can reuse. And then you've got to think about when you're swallowing that pill that someone else has actually shat that pill out. So
Yeah.
So the second best way is a thermometer up the bum, and so you get given a cord which is probably maybe
it's a foot.
30 centimetres long. You're definitely not expected to go the full 30 centimetres, although I think some people tried. And it would be slightly thinner than your laptop cord, maybe like, well, no, so maybe your laptop cord actually,
Yeah.
but a little bit stiffer, so that it didn't just coil when you shoved it up. And so this is a men's 8 crew, so we're all about 19, 21-ish, so we're all very immature about things up the bum. And you would have, like, I was terrible at it. I'd have to like go to the toilet. I'd just have to think relaxing thoughts and just try and get it up there. And then some days it would work, some days it wouldn't work. I don't know whether I've got long-term damage from trying to shove that thing up there. But long cord short, in the end you would have this cord up your bum, and then it would kind of come out like a tail, and then they'd tape it to your back, and then every now and then someone would come in and then plug into your cord just to measure internal body temp. And so then other years I think we did shorter time periods in, but much higher temperature, so we might go up to like 40 degrees plus, and then high humidity. And it was weird because it was in the middle of winter.
I was about to say that, weren't you, in the middle of winter in Dunedin?
So I remember one day I was having to wear like tramping boots with socks over my tramping boots to walk down to the PE school because there was, like snow up to your mid-shin on the ground.
Oh shit.
Proper bad Dunedin winter, going in, stripping down, plugging in, and then that was the other thing, like trying to row with something stuck up your bum is like not very nice. Although we actually found that cycling was worse because like you're trying to sit on the saddle in the way that the seat works with your gooch, and the cord is like not that good either. And you'd only be able to actually row for like a small period of time because it's just too uncomfortable, and like I'd find my heart rate would go through the roof, and you'd end up just sitting in a corner trying to stay conscious effectively. And then you'd do that, pretty miserable, and then you'd go back out, row back up, or unplug, robe up, and then go back outside to 0 degrees or whatever, and go to university.
Yeah. So what, you do that before you?
So I think we would probably do that for about 4 weeks leading up, and it was pretty taxing. I think it's probably, in terms of the data that they got, like the guy released a paper later on, which I remember TJ showed me, my friend from school who was involved in the sports science. What he stated when he summed it all up with some of the data he got from us and from other experiments was that stress is stress when it comes to adaptation, whether it's just you going and doing a workout and working really hard and stressing your body, or you using heat to stress your body, or you using altitude to stress your body, or you using cold to stress your body. Like, stress is stress, and there is an adaptation that is beneficial that you get out of it. So you can get as fancy as you like or as simple as you like, but ultimately stress was good in a physical education kind of, I guess, context.
And a training context too.
And a training context. Although, so that was what they found, but we were finding when you were trying to train up for competition, and you've got these heat chamber sessions which are really, really taxing, and you're trying to do speed work and you're trying to do like fast work, you'd actually be really drained from the heat chamber sessions. So you might do a morning heat chamber session and then you're trying to do some sprints in the evening, but your legs are just cooked, your body's fried because you're still trying to rehydrate and well, I guess this is just me guessing, but like rehydrate, rebalance your salts and electrolytes and stuff like that. So you got a little bit of a confidence boost because you feel a bit like the Russian dude from Rocky 4 where you got all the science behind you, but you also get a like degradation in confidence because you're not performing. It was hard to program it into like a training cycle through a week.
Yeah.
So maybe we could have done that better.
Was there a year that was better? Of course, bearing in mind that
I think
was the majority of your crew for those 3 years the same or different?
It definitely changed a lot because you got age groups. Because it's a university crew, you got the third years that are like leaving, and then you got new first years, and so I did that trip for 3 years, and the crew was definitely probably at least 50% different each year. And I don't have the data to actually look at like we were more effective this year or what. And there's so many confounding factors when you got different athletes and stuff like that.
So was it a better experience every year?
I think subjectively, personally, I think I found the shorter, more intense stuff better. Because you got that heat exposure. I feel like as opposed to 90 minutes in the heat chamber, like there was a day there where my internal body temp was up above 40 degrees. Wow. So like clinically I was probably in a bit of danger there, but it was all right. But those longer sessions would just be misery, and you wouldn't feel good for a while. Whereas you'd still get the heat exposure with a shorter time frame. You get the confidence boost out of it, but it didn't seem as taxing. Or maybe it was just that I'd done it in previous years and knew what I was in for and knew how to do it. So it's hard to tell, and I don't have the data.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of that, and I think they kind of talk about that in altitude training, where you are supposed to live high, train low, because they accept that sometimes in training you actually need to practice being
fast and being good.
Being good. You want like so much of sport is confidence, and confidence it comes out of like you having evidence of being good enough. So if you
moments of perfection. Yeah.
So you want to go into competition knowing that, okay, well, I've done these things in training, and if I just repeat them, then that's going to be good enough today, rather than being like, I've trained all this time, hopefully with the training that means I can get up and produce something new today. Like, that's not happening.
If you're trained all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is, the peaking is a thing, and you should get a little bit extra out of your peak, but we never had the approach that you were going to produce something that you'd never produced before on race day. The theory was that you tried to like train hard and go as fast as you could in training.
Yeah.
And then if you had a good day when you raced, then you might produce one of your best sessions, or you might produce one of your best sessions in training. But like the expectation was you would do what you'd done on your good days in training, and that's all you could hope for. I remember when Nathan Kahn was talking to the news team after they won in, was that London? He talked about how
no, wasn't that? Oh yeah, no, it was London.
Yeah. He said that
the hour of power.
Yeah. In summary, he just kind of said like, look, we know everyone's times, we've raced against everyone before, no one's going to go 10 seconds faster today, so we knew that if we did what we knew we could do, we were in with a shot. And so we just focused on doing our race. Yeah, people got way out in front, but we knew that it's a 2K, like the finish line's not going to change position.
No.
And so we'll just do what we have to do and see what happens. So like that's that mentality that guess I'm trying to describe is you don't produce magic on the day. Like it looks like magic, but really it's a reflection of what you've been doing already.
So was that a philosophy you developed at Otago Uni, or was that what you had already with training with Dad, and like you won the under 18 and a half single? Yeah.
I lost the under 17 single, won the under 18 single.
Was that which one was first?
17 was first.
Okay, right.
Yeah. It might have even been the same day or the day after, I'm not sure.
Nah, that was kind of, it wasn't a fluke, but I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like I was capable of it, obviously.
Because you and TJ had rode pairs and doubles?
Pairs and doubles.
Yeah.
I'd done alright in singles at the South Island level. I was a bit of a favourite for the 17 single. Mentally just fucked that up.
Do you know what it was?
Just putting too much pressure on myself, focusing on the result, not the process. There's a guy, he's a pretty crack up dude. I didn't know him at the time. His name was Sam Wells. He was really quick. He actually won the 17 single, and his coach was Rob Everett. So he's Rob's an ex Southland boys rower, successful.
Yeah.
Rower.
I was thinking,
And they would come up to me in the boat park during the week and just yarn. And like one of my biggest weaknesses then was like I was like far too cerebral about things. It's still one of my biggest weaknesses. And they would just yarn
so
to
like
me.
racing on day one.
Yeah, well, like
racing in your head on day one.
Yeah, like in your head, just like saying, not sledging, but just saying stuff that I would overthink and like lose my mind about. And then by the time I got to that final, like my legs were jelly. The first 500 metres, would have, if you looked at my splits, they would have been rubbish. And Sam just like completely took off. And I think I looked around at 500 gone, and he was like many lengths ahead of everyone else. And I was like, well, I fucked this up. So after that point, I just kind of put my head down and rode through and like ended up third, which was okay given where I started, but really based on my performance to that date, I probably should have done better. And I remember like I had an assistant. Like Dad was coaching me, but we also had an assistant coach that would come coach us, Richard Parr.
Yeah.
Canadian dude, and he had to talk to me after the race. He's like, well, you fucked that up, didn't you? So, yeah. And he kind of said...
Because he coached you a bit at Otago as well.
Yeah, he coached me at Otago. So I guess it probably was a little bit of, if you're saying about that philosophy, it was probably starting then.
Yeah.
Where he said you got to dance with the one that brung you. Was effectively like, the metaphor being you don't go to the ball with like a date and then try to do something else. You don't abandon what you've been doing to date. You go to the ball with the girlfriend that you came with that got you there, and you hang out with her because that's the girl that you asked out that you wanted to go with. So in terms of rowing, it was like, why did you do something different in that 17 single final? Why, like, you've done races before, you've trained before, you've been good. Just do that, dance with the one that brung you. And so in the under 18 final, I focused more on just doing my own thing, how I'd usually done it, and then that ended up being good enough. So maybe that was the start of it. I think about the same time I've been reading like the Hamish Carter books and a few other sports psych books, which I'm not very good at listening to that kind of stuff, but some of it must have been seeping in about being process orientated rather than outcome orientated, and that kind of started being cemented and had more regular success.
How
after that point?
You just said like you didn't really take on board much of that stuff. Like in our house, like I think I was reading David Beckham's biography at like 12, and then we had Winner's Bible in the house.
Winner's Bible was the other one that I read.
Yeah, and
because I think Andrew realised that I was crazy, so he gave it to me.
Well, that was my book.
And it's like, you need to read this effectively.
Yeah.
'Cause you're in that case.
But yeah, we had like a few of those sort of. Well, Dad had coaching books and like books on the 8 and stuff. I didn't read those. Being a rowing orphan, I shunned away from anything that was rowing. But like that sort of winning training system, scientific minded parents as well, system focused.
Well, I don't know, like we're all pretty competitive.
Yeah.
As kids, like I remember, probably most of the fights would have been caused, like due to backyard cricket or backyard rugby or something like
I
that.
caught Andrew out one time.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I still livid.
Or getting like an LB on the because caught behind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But what was that, paying in the garage or paying?
So what was it? Like you bowled down the cobbles, and then if someone like nicked it, and then it hit the garage door behind, the rule was like, righto, you got caught behind.
Yeah, you were caught in the slips. Yeah.
Because obviously with 3 people out there, you're not.
But that was so we had at our house, the house go along one side, the offside, so onside, sorry. And so none of us were very good at playing hook shots or pull shots. It was all
I
cut.
wasn't very good at any shots. I was good at getting smashed by my older brothers and then just cry about it, then ask you to go easy, and then no one went easy.
But I think with such a short pitch, it really forced us to spin a tennis ball as well.
Well, I remember there was actually like
A cobble that was loose.
there was a cobble that was loose on the leg side, and you could actually hit that cobble and it would bounce in and hit the wickets behind you.
Yeah.
That was probably the best day of B1g0C that I ever played, where I hit that cobble and got Andrew out.
Oh yeah.
Clean bowled. And it never happened again, but I do remember that.
And our wickets were a old fishboard skateboard.
Yeah.
Propped up against the bricks between the 2 garage doors.
Nothing sweeter than the sound of a tennis ball on that fish skateboard. Indeed.
Yeah. But then there was too many outs, eh? Like you play a good stroke down the ground, and of course you'd hit it into the paddock, and so
I think that was
you'd be out.
Like Patches was in that paddock, and he had a reputation of bowling us over. Patches the ram.
Inbred. Oh no, he wasn't inbred. He was the OG, but
Yeah.
he was nuts.
So like if you hit it in there on the full, it was like, well, A, you're over the fence and out, but B, you have to go get the ball and try not to get hit by Patches the ram.
Or else the grass would be long
Yeah, and you lose the ball.
and lose the ball.
Yeah.
See, they're fair rules.
So like really you had to try and hit it. I don't know what that direction is at about 2:00
Through the covers.
through the covers up the driveway.
Yeah.
But even then, there's like mum had so much garden, and mum and dad had so much garden, you'd lose the ball wherever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, why tennis balls green? Well, of course, because they're for tennis.
They start off bright green, and then you can find them all right. But I think they took so much punishment they'd end up being like a muddy green, and yeah, you'd have a shit show of finding it.
Yeah. No. Anyway, so you went to Otago, did health science.
Yep.
Was your first China trip your first year?
First trip, first year. So
that really ruined health science. Or were you already like, no, I'm not doing this?
well, I went into health science because my girlfriend at high school was going to be a doctor. She was very smart. She was from a family where being a doctor was effectively the only choice, but I think she genuinely wanted to be a doctor as well, and she is probably a very good doctor too. And so that meant that I wanted to be a doctor too.
Genius.
Because I couldn't think
because you were 17
at that age.
17-year-old male.
Yeah. And
so only so much blood can go around.
Yeah, she was going to go to a hall in Dunedin, so I was going to go to that hall too. And then towards the end of the year, she got into Monash University in Melbourne, direct entry into medicine. So then I was like, well, I'm going to be a doctor, but I'm not going to do it in Dunedin, and obviously not going to be in that hall. So then she went away, and then I was like, I'm in this hall. It turns out I didn't really choose for myself. I chose it for other reasons. And that hall was like very targeted at people to be, like becoming doctors.
Anyone that's been to Otago, it's St Margaret's, so
Yeah.
it speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had to start thinking for myself as to what I actually wanted. Luckily, there was a crowd of people that also went to that hall accidentally. And we
I flat with one of them now, but he is actually a doctor.
Oh no, he's a doctor. Does he like it? I don't know. I try not to raise that with people that went to St Margaret's. It's a bit rude to be like, oh, you went to St Margaret's, because most of the time it's like, I
No.
don't actually remember you, sorry. And then it's kind of like, do I want to breach the topic of did you or didn't you like it? Because it has a place for people, just not me.
And he got swine flu as well.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it wasn't all bad.
Swine flu.
I met my wife.
Yeah.
Um,
She looked after you, didn't you? Boy,
Yeah.
You were doing quarantine way before COVID.
yeah. Yeah, I'm an OG quarantiner. And also like an OG pandemic denier, because I got swine flu and was like, this isn't that bad, why are you keeping me in my room, this is bullshit, I need to go rowing.
Did you not get that sick?
Like I was sick, but also I was dumb. It was just like, you just,
Yeah, it was a bit like me when I got glandular fever in Dunedin.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, I'll be right. Nah.
yeah, no days off.
I think by the third night where I was up, couldn't really breathe. I was sitting with my head over boiling water. I think by
that sounds quite bad.
by that stage I like rang mum and I was like, can you come get me? She took me back to Invercargill. Thank God I was in Dunedin and not
Yeah.
Auckland.
Yeah. No, swine flu wasn't that bad.
Okay, glandular's worse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, the question was first year rowing. Did it fuck that up? I mean, it was in April, it was in first semester, but the reality was that I'd chosen a course that I didn't actually have my heart set on.
And by the time you do those first tests and 2 tests and they're worth 40%, you pretty much know.
Yeah, there's a bit of that too. Like I was committed to rowing as well. And rowing's a pretty big commitment, whereas you look around you at all these people that are committing to health science and medicine, and there's no room for anything else. And like there's some course content's interesting, but maybe I was quitting. I still haven't worked that out, but I decided it wasn't for me. When I did go to China, I missed a 20% chemistry test, but I'd organised to miss that. That was fine. I had like a make-up test when I got back. But when I got back, it must have been between the swine flu and just the freak out of coming back from China, I missed the 20% make-up test. So, and there was terms as well. So I remember going into the whoever the chief of the paper, whatever you call it is, and just trying to...
Dean, no? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, maybe. Whatever. And begging him just like, I know I've stuffed this up, but I've really fucked this up. But is there any way you can give me a chance? He's like, look, I'll give you terms, but I'm not giving you any marks. You're just down 20%.
Oh shit!
So I guess at that
Did you pass it?
Yeah, I got 51%.
Oh!
I tried 1% too hard. No, that was my worst mark at university. But yeah, I guess that didn't help the health science thing. But I'd already tapped out by then.
Yeah. So how did like your first lot of exams, like my first lot of exams, those 40% chemistry it was, and human body systems did not go well.
Yeah.
But I was still gunning. You know, I don't give up.
Never surrender.
It's partly my downfall. I nearly made it into optometry after that first year, but like going into those exams, I studied so hard, despite a whole bunch of shit going down. And then as soon as I finished, man, boy did I let off some steam. But
I didn't. I don't know how to study.
Oh, neither. NCA can shut up.
I don't know how to do university, and like I don't know how to live either. The first year, it seems so weird to me that first year health sci is the course that decides medicine people.
Oh yeah.
Because
Most of.
like, in saying that, like we have like a lot of them are really smart people that deserve to be doctors and all of that, but a lot of the people that I know, their experience of leaving high school and leaving home and going to university and like experiencing all of that, it's just so different. I wouldn't use the word traumatic, but I think everyone generally has a freak out in some way or form, and so you've got all these people freaking out, and then it's like, oh, and you've got one opportunity that you can never do again to get into this medicine course, which is going to like be your lifetime career.
Talk about vocation, eh?
Yeah. And then on the other side of it, like, if you read up on it, medicine's not all that shit hot anyway. You kind of get used and abused, and you make money out of doing crazy hours and stuff like that. So it just kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't know if this is for me.
Well, that was, you know, whether that was mum's influence or not, but that was why I never wanted to do medicine. And like, yeah, I still get people asking me, why aren't you a doctor? And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And like, we were joking today about time outside of work is precious. And that's like the things that I like doing and you like doing, like, man, being able to leave work is so good.
In saying that, I'm not always good at that either, though.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So what I ended up doing was just kind of tapping out of that, focusing on rowing, and then just choosing a range of papers. So
had the surveying stuff come up by then, or that kind of
like when I was at primary school and early high school, I wanted to be an architect.
Yeah.
But then I did art and graphics, and really didn't like those either. And
did you like graphics?
I did like it, but I don't know. I think I was quite lazy at that point. I wasn't automatically good at it, so then I think like my reaction was like, oh well, I don't like this. I'll go do something that I'm like automatically good at.
Well, I think that was my reaction to art, because it was like, art's really hard. But then I only did it a term.
Yeah.
But I really liked design process from graphics and technologies.
Yeah.
So I did 2 years of technologies, 2 years of graphics.
Yeah, I think I kind of gamed high school based on the stuff that I could do well at, rather than chasing any passion or anything like that. It was just like, oh, I'm going to win this thing, so I do these papers because I reckon I can do better than other people at them.
And that was what was good for me, knowing that I wanted to do optometry, because I knew that the things that mattered was NCA 1, 2 and 3, and I knew what subjects I had to do then, and so everything else I just did out of interest.
True. Yeah, for me it was like, I want to be an architect. I'll do graphics and art. Graphics I'm not good at. And apparently art's more important. Art, I'm middle of the road.
To really like it.
But there's other people that are way better than me at it. And NCEA art, you seem to be like copying a lot of motifs. And the motifs were...
It's really off-putting,
like, all about suicide. So then I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And by that point I might have started dating this girl that was going to be a doctor. So therein lies the pathway.
You know how you're saying how like you don't know how to study, don't know how to do exams. There was something I was talking to someone who had done school cert the other day, and I said, I remember Dad having taught school cert physics and stuff, always being on my back, being like, "Don't you have a lab to write up or something?" And I was just like, "No, I actually don't." And like, I remember Andrew having to write up like labs, like for all the sciences.
Do you remember the freak out over bursary? Like when Andrew did bursary exams? Like,
oh, vaguely, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal when we did level 3.
And it was like, with NCA, it was kind of like, here's your workbook. Fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and they had those. Do you remember those little cheat sheet pamphlets?
Yeah.
It was like,
Here's the questions that are going to be in the exam.
Here's the course content in this pamphlet. So I was like, guess what I'm learning?
Yeah. And then, yeah, sure enough, you do a mock exam and then you go into the NCA exam and like, oh, these look familiar. And then you go to university and they're like, here's a shit ton of information. Learn it. It's going to, all might be in the exam. Here's 5 years of previous exams. One of those questions might be in the exam.
Yeah. And saying that, maybe it was just surveying, but a lot of surveying you could game like that. You could actually, I had a pretty good capacity to rote learn things. Like
I suck at rote learning.
I got top student in I guess it's year 10. And I still remember my English essay. I learnt that by heart before the exam.
Oh, the one excellence I got in English in sixth form was like that.
Yeah, and then just
Shawshank Redemption.
completely regurgitated this essay verbatim that I'd worked through, got it like signed off by the English teachers about like, is this a good essay? Yes, it's a good essay. Sweet. Guess who's memorising it?
Yeah.
And he just wrote that because I knew the question got like a 91% or something. Like,
Well,
it was just
I can do that too.
I wasn't learning anything. It was just like I have this capacity to like remember manual shit and then throw it back out. I wasn't very smart.
Well, that was like the 1A plus I got at uni, and it was in neuro optometry. That's why I love listening to Andrew Huberman, because he talks about all this stuff. But I'd done neuroscience at Dunedin.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of basis to it. So I was talking about Schrodinger's cats and how the eye networks and stuff work. But I had plusage because I'd had tonsillitis when we had a big test, and so I had plusage for this exam, and yeah, there was a similar thing. This is the only time I ever put citations in an essay at university. I don't know how or why these citations stuck.
Right.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman was talking about them the other day with Lex Friedman. I was like, oh, those guys. Weasel, I think the guy's name was. And yeah, like that's and I guess it's kind of like learning music or like learning songs, doing production and stuff. Like you can, if you have a narrative and a story and things, you can rewrite something out.
I guess so. But I mean, I guess we used to learn songs and stuff. But when I used to play music,
You did speech for a while too, eh?
I'd do speech. Yeah, I'd only like sheet read music. I was never. You know, you get people at school that would just like riff on the piano,
Yeah.
or play the piano. They just play a song, and there's no sheet music there. I'd look at that and go, "What are you doing? Like, who taught you?"
But is that how the clarinet is different? Because it is part of musical system.
I didn't do it for long enough, but
Well, how long did
At
you
the
do
same
concert
time-
band for?
I think I did that through to year 10.
And that's like a part of the band, though, right?
Yeah. So you actually have to be in time, but like, I also did jazz, and my teacher was a jazz musician, and he would just riff. Like, he would just be able to play songs, and some of his like more senior students who were in concert band would be able to do that too. Like they would do whatever's above the. What he was above Trinity? Is it Cambridge that was above Trinity?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and they would have that ability of just like to pick up the instrument, get the.
Did they write music?
I think because they studied music at school, so they did composition as well.
Because that was like with Patrick Davenport when I was hanging out with him last time. He was playing like he's insane on the guitar.
Yeah,
and then he gave me the guitar, and I started like I can remember-ish some songs.
Yeah,
badly. I'm no guitarist.
Don't.
Yeah. Oh no, this no, it's like this. I know not that chord. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had a song in my head. I was like, I wonder how you play this song. And he found like the root note, and then blasted it out. And I was like, how did you figure that out? And he's like, well, because it starts here, most songs have this structure and this structure and this structure, and so from here you can just kind of, if you find the base, the start of it, then you can kind of work it out. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like that went over my head, man.
So I don't know. Maybe we didn't stick it up for long enough.
No, I didn't practice. I was. You did way better at music than me. I didn't. I basically like. I'd have the tutor show up on Wednesday night or whatever it was, and half an hour before I'd been there trying to practice it again.
Well, but even I kind of bullshitted that though. Like, you just cram play before your competition, and then get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, that's like competent, sweet. And like really, if you look back at the total hours you put in, you're like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was even when I entered the school singing competition. I like got in from singing Mr. Bojangles a cappella,
yeah,
and then in the shower, and
yeah, it's fucking annoying.
it's a good song. And I used to know that whole Swing When You're Winning album off by heart, but then I couldn't get a backing track, so then I had to like completely change song, and I was like, oh, I'll do Where Do the Children Play, but because I'd never really practiced it the whole time I knew it, I had to spend like 4 hours on the night before playing it, learning how to play the guitar again. Yeah.
Oh, so you played the guitar?
Yeah, I accompanied myself on the song that I hadn't got in with.
That's intense.
Yeah. Oh well, I survived. I was just sweating beads though.
Yeah, that's stepping out of there, eh? When you... I don't know, there's something about singing.
Yeah.
Especially at high school. I mean, it's certainly it'll be hard enough to do as an adult too, but there's something about singing at high school when you're not like an all-in choir person, like you still kind of want to be cool. But then you go and sing and you're like, whoa, this is dignity. Yeah, because I might squeak today.
Yeah. I managed to get up enough courage to join the choir towards the end of school.
Mm.
And you're saying about going to uni and not thinking for yourself. Well, I think in sixth form or seventh form, it was when Steve Broad got was in New Zealand Idol and was doing quite well.
Oh, really?
They did James Hargis Idol.
Yeah.
And I bloody got up in front of the whole school and sung Ordinary People. Directed at someone who really had my guts. Probably still does.
You get that.
You get that. God, there's no brains when you're a teenage boy.
There's some pretty good musicians at that school, eh?
Well, that's what when people were like, what the hell's James Hargis College? I was like, well, we used to be good at rowing.
Yeah.
We were really good at concert band for a long time.
Yeah.
And we do a not bad production.
Yeah. We had the odd good water polo team or the odd good football team.
And that was only good in terms of the South Island.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like we get third at South Island champs, behind Christchurch boys and Stag usually.
How did I describe that to you the other day? I think I described our water polo teams as like generally pretty poor and like the poor performing South Island and the poor performing New Zealand. Like water polo and football is just, yeah. I mean, we tried, but we just weren't that good.
Yeah. How annoying do you reckon that was, like, being a big fish in a small pond?
I don't know. I think it's good for you in some ways.
But, like, Southland punches so often as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, like you think about James Unison.
Oh, yeah.
Or Eddie Dawkins. Or Nathan Cohen.
Stormaroo,
like,
Jadoo.
There are people that somehow figured it out athletically. And, like, I mean, Stephen Broad even, like, musicians and... Who was it? They're academics as well. Like, was it Kate French or
Kate French. Oh, there's a few Rhodes Scholars at Hargis.
Yeah. There are some people who, for whatever reason, like, just nailed it. So they're a big fish in a big pond, but they're also in a small pond as well. So I don't know. I think confidence, the confidence that it gave you. I mean, we both went to
Yeah, there was you definitely felt confident, eh?
Yeah.
And probably to the detriment when by the time we got to uni.
Yeah. But I think by that point, like, because we'd gone from a low decile primary school
Yeah.
where you kind of we did okay there, but then like stepping from that school to high school was like, holy cow, everyone's really smart.
And somehow we both got into top band.
Yeah.
Don't know how that entrance test.
Maybe Dad just did a wee underhand or something like that.
Well, Dad was only there for like my fourth form. He wasn't even there in third form. He wasn't even there.
He
Was he
left
there for you?
I think he was there for like a few weeks, and he was like, "I'm out."
Was probably good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have to ask Andrew.
Yeah. But I guess what I was saying was like, you kind of got used to like, okay, you've come to a new level now, and like you've got to figure out how to navigate on this more challenging level.
Mm.
And then it was kind of the same again. It was the same with sports when you go from like, okay,
Playing like for me, playing Southland men's team when you're 15.
yeah,
And then you go to an age group and you don't get into an age group. You're like, what the fuck?
yeah. Or you play your club season and then you might do alright, or you compete within your club, within your team, and then you go alright, and then you compete against another team. It's like, oh, that guy over there is better than me, and that guy over there is better than me. So then I need to be better, and then you work at that, and then you might get into a rep team, and then you're like, oh sweet, I've like made it. But then you go into a competition, and you're like, damn, they're all better than me. So
We got our ass kicked.
Yeah. So you kind of get used to that process of changing ponds, I guess. So going to uni, I mean, yeah, it was like,
Oh, everyone's like real brainy.
but then you just kind of have to go, okay, back to the drawing board and work away at it, or
Quit house I.
Yeah, or realise the same for me.
yeah.
Yeah. What was that? I was 16, you were 14, we came to Hawke's Bay for Federation Soccer.
Yeah,
And you were a goalie, and you were very busy, but that kind of like highlighted that you were like a good player.
That tournament was weird because I was actually the second keeper. Maybe it was just my arrogance, but I thought I was the first keeper. But
No, you probably were. It was just the other keepers from Dunedin, so he gets to be the first
I think
keeper.
he's even from Tamaroo. But
Oh,
yeah,
there goes that theory.
yeah. But for whatever reason, I was the second keeper. Maybe he had been doing better in training than me. Then I was delusional. But he had a freak out and decided that he couldn't play. We got all the way to Napier, and I don't even know if he got any game time. And so then I was like the only keeper. And like as you said, we got real busy. But I think we actually had
You had a good game against Auckland.
it was like North Sport or something
North
like
Sport
that.
too,
We drew 1-1, and that was like a match that like the whole federation was like, what? Like we usually get smashed by them.
Because their base was Waitakere City. It was by that stage the National League had started, and Waitakere City I think had won that year, or they were in the final with Auckland City. So
Yeah. So I don't know whether they just completely choked and thought we were going to be real easy, and we actually hit flow
or United, Waitakere United.
and played really well, or both. But for whatever reason, like we had a screamer, they had a absolute shit show.
Underestimated him maybe.
They even drew 1-1, but like they weren't playing against. I remember there was one day that we lost like 11-0, which is a pretty hard day in the box. But in terms of the amount of shots on target that I had to compete with, like I still had a good day in the box. Like,
Yeah.
it was a hard day, but like I still did well.
What do they say? It's got to get past 10 people before it gets to you.
Yeah, like so I was extremely busy, and yes, I let 11 in, but I also stopped like a ridiculous amount that day, and I think that was the game where they had this guy that was just so much faster than anyone in our team, and it was just 1v1s all day. And it got to the point where it was like, I don't know whether the coach said something to me or I just had enough. I was like, well, this guy's going to keep doing this for the rest of the match unless he's not on the field.
So, he dived at his feet or something.
I dove at his feet, and then he got carried off in a stretcher. And
Oh dear.
Because the keeper or is generally gets first favour. I think it must have been a genuine challenge, and because I committed more than he did, he came off worst off, and then I was less busy for the rest of the match. So.
Yeah. No, that worked against me as striker. I think I got 3 yellow cards in the first 4 games.
For tackling the keeper, effectively.
No, backs usually.
Yeah.
Jeremy something. He's now a doctor. From Canterbury, we had a good battle, and then we ended up being in anatomy together in Dunedin. But
oh right.
yeah. We had a bit of a ruckus, and then I think the game after I had my stand down, then I injured my back, so I missed like 3 games at that time, or 2 games. Must have been 2 games.
Well, stand down from all your yellow cards.
From 3 yellow cards, yeah.
Aggressive much.
Well, that's where at that time, John Hewitson and John Herdman called me the bulldozer.
Yeah, they were pretty special for Southland football.
They were, yeah, so there are two coaches that had come from Sunderland. John Herdman, like, he was an incredibly skilled player, incredibly talented mind, but he
was tiny.
He was a tiny man.
Yeah.
And in a place like Sunderland that, you know, has battles with Newcastle, and, you know, they go down the motorway and battle against Manchester. Being a small lad probably didn't work in his favour, but shit, he was intelligent. And like that, he is someone that's like been influential in my life. Like, I still carry that look good, feel good, play good with me.
Yeah. I think it was probably just the age that I was at, but John Herdman was definitely inspiring.
Oh yeah.
As like someone who was probably extremely young when he came on the scene, and he just got you real passionate about it. And it was,
go on, lad.
Yeah.
I'll win, mate.
Shocky.
Yeah, think Geordie Shore.
Yeah.
I'll win, man.
And it would pump you up and just make you feel so cool. But whereas like John Hewitson actually coached us, and he was probably more influential. Like, I remember going up to a tournament in Dunedin.
Morky.
And like, because we used to have some pretty alright players, but then even when we were training alright and learning the game and doing really well, we'd still go up to Dunedin and just lose.
As Southland.
Yeah. And I just remember him having a go at us at halftime. He's like, you guys respect these people too much. Like, there's no reason that you can't compete with these guys. You just need to drop the respect. You need to go out there, play the way you can, and just show no respect. And that was like similar to Richard Parr saying, like, dance with the one that brung you.
Yeah.
That was like a key message of just like, I was just a kid, but you kind of have this light bulb moment, and you're kind of like, oh right, like this is optional.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was kind of like what a lot of the post-match for the Argentinians was on Saturday. That, like, I think had come from Michael Cheika or something, that you know, you guys are good. You've got experience. You've got youth. You've got talent. You've got size. You've got strength. You've got skills. Go out there and take it.
Yeah. And
it's like you've got what there's that saying about, like, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? And it's like that was kind of for them. Like, Argentina's never been in the All Blacks. Well, why can't you today?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Especially now, like they've you know, the Pumas or whatever they're called. They've been in Super Rugby a few years. You know, there's plenty of Pumas who play in Europe at high caliber. Like, they got amazing forward pack, and
yeah, I mean that's the thing. They've probably got over that mental process within their own regions.
yeah,
But even at the top level, they've still potentially been susceptible to that mindset, which is quite interesting as well. Because like they wouldn't make the Argentinian team if they had that, like, oh, we're going to play that team from the big city, therefore they're better than us. Like, it is a pretty hard mindset to break. And I remember hearing that from Dad when we went to our first Maadi. It was just like, you kind of got sat in the committee room at the rowing club,
And he would just say, right, you're going to the National Secondary Schools Rowing Champs. There's going to be a lot of schools there that have a lot of money. Like St Kentigans are going to show up, and they're going to have like an
Marquee and
an amazing boat trailer with like all brand new boats, and they're going to have all the gear, and they might even have 2 boat trailers. And there's going to be a lot of other like very good looking schools up there. It's going to be very intimidating, but we have a program here that has been successful in the past, and although we don't have all that good equipment, or the numbers or the tents or anything like that, that's never stopped us before. Like all these people they got 2 arms, 2 legs, like that kind of chat. Yeah.
And I guess
just like you, and actually they row on much worse water.
Yeah, as I was about to say, I guess the really awesome thing for you guys is actually we row on the best water in the country for the most amount of time, and we actually get in a few more regattas.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though the trees grow sideways in Southland, you still manage to get.
And yeah, it was similar to the no respect talk. It was like what you need to realise is that every one of these people is beatable, and we've got a good program, and so long as you've done the work this year, there's absolutely no reason why you can't be in the A final when you get there. And we got that talk the first year we went to Maadi, and we got absolutely thrashed.
Yeah.
But by the time we got on, like eventually there was a few moments of like, oh right, no, we can beat this person even though they come from the big city or whatever, or the big fancy school. And then maybe it's linked to that bigger pond mentality that we were talking about earlier.
And so what was the difference between Maadi and then that goodie you guys had at Nationals as a club, and your crew in particular doing really well, but there was a couple of other smaller boats that did really well as well? The girls had a good regatta also.
The girls had Sarah Hamilton at that time, and she won, I'm pretty sure she won like every single senior women's event.
Wow.
that you could win that year. She had an amazing regatta. I think like Dad had just built up a critical mass of key people, but also he had momentum in his own region, and he'd achieved the status of mana with his athletes as well. Like,
and that was when you guys had Will Payne doing strength and conditioning. He had Richard coming and Walter coming.
I think Richard might have been gone by that point, and Walter was gone by that point, but we had Duncan Holland.
Yeah.
So like we had this kind of perfect mix and perfect system that had been around. Well, not perfect, but like we had some systems in place that had been around for a few years, and we'd had like from I guess when Nathan won his first red coat.
And that was for Invercargill.
For Invercargill, but like he kind of, him and Andrew's age group kind of paved the way where they started this run of success out of the Southland region.
Yeah, so Southland has 2 rowing clubs, Invercargill and Wahaupai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had these guys that went up, and then they won a whole bunch of events at National Secondary Schools. That had happened in Southland before, but it had been like a long time between drinks.
Yeah, so Clark Dermody, Jason Rutledge,
Yeah.
and Corey Flynn had a good crew for Boys High.
I think Rob Everett might have been in that crew.
Yeah.
I talked about earlier.
And then there was Trent Holden as a single.
There's Tinners.
Another Southland Boys High single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There had been some good guys, but it had kind of been quite sporadic. Dan Blaine had a few good years.
Was that with Hargest or Boys High?
I think it was more club level. I'm not sure what he did at school.
Yeah.
But there hadn't been like a sustained and building success period, whereas Southland Rowing had a winter training program with a strength conditioner and all through the winter, and access to a professional coach that rowed a program and visited the athletes regularly. And it wasn't necessarily like the professional coach was great, but it wasn't necessarily that the professional coach was great. It was kind of just like, it was the perception from the athlete of like, I'm getting this person from the outside who, Richard Parr, for instance, had coached. He'd been head coach of Ireland, and he was Canadian, and it was just like a different voice rather than your own coach who like bleats onto you about this technical aspect. For whatever reason, it just sounds way cooler when it
And
comes
is it also that he's saying something similar, and it's kind of like, what I've been doing, this is what I've been trying to do or trying to achieve, and like hearing it like say from a different voice and it said in an ever so slightly different way, it reinforces the things you've been working on.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So we had this program. We actually got time away from our summer coaches, which I think was helpful too for us and the summer coaches. We got to train inter club, so I got to train with Hayden Cohen, who later became a New Zealand rower, and a couple of other senior rowers from other clubs. And
so that was a Southland winter program.
It was a Southland winter program, and,
cool.
and you had a chance to feel special being part of that Southland winter program as well, because like you got a t-shirt and, and like it just little things that boosted your confidence. But a lot of the 2012 Waihopai crew had been through that program.
Yeah.
So we had this program in place through the winter. People were doing, they're doing the work, and we had this kind of sustained period of results where like Nathan was winning like pretty much everything
under the Invercargill singlet.
Storm Uru was winning, Jade Uru was winning. Louise Ayling, she won a gold coat from a club crew against all the RPCs. That was like a real key moment in our club.
Yeah.
So that we had these performance centres got introduced, which when they first got introduced, there was
So gold coat was a lightweight championship.
Lightweight premier event. And so what these performance centres meant was that you could be from many different clubs so long as you were within the same catchment. You could go to this performance centre and row together under one program with the other best people from your catchment.
Yeah.
And because it was new and because the performance centre was based in Christchurch, it was logistically and like financially quite challenging for Southland rowers to like set themselves up there.
Yeah.
So Louise Ayling, for instance, she did a season with Dad and Barb. Can't remember Barb's last name. She was a machine too. And they went away to the nationals and won the lightweight double, and beat all these RPC crews. And it was kind of like it was a big moment for Southland and the club. And I was like, yeah, we can actually do this. We can get some good results.
Yeah.
And so there was all these waves, and even we had Matt Malcolm and Sarah Hamilton, who'd come from Invercargill as well, Invercargill Rowing Club as well, not Waihopai, but they'd joined our squad. They'd had good success under the Invercargill singlet, but at that period in time, Waihopai had a squad that gave them some opportunity for crews and options at nationals. In terms of Dad, he had this, because he'd been administrating and he'd been helping along with a lot of the other Southland rowing administrators to set up this process, and that was feeding Invercargill Rowing Club, but it was also feeding Waihopai Rowing Club. The success was building, people were staying on, we had a few key leadership people, but then we kind of reached this tipping point where you knew you could win, you had access to the tools that would allow you to win, and then it kind of became this thing of like, I've just got to do this program and then I can go to nationals, or I got to do this program, be in the squad, I can go to nationals, and then I can get a chance at winning.
Yeah.
And some of the key senior people have been winning for a few years, so they were likely going to win, like Matt and Sarah. Even myself, by that point, I'd been reasonably successful. But then we started mixing in some of the younger people, and then it started to snowball as well.
Yeah.
Where there were people in that squad who were good athletes, but I think they got results better than what they were on paper.
Mm-hmm.
by manner of what that squad had created in terms of culture, momentum, like mana, expectation, it all kind of just clicked to a point that, you know, people were just coming down the track all day like, I hope I gold, I hope I gold, I hope I bronze. Like it was pretty insane. And yeah, like we got medals in the senior eights and stuff like that, which was a pretty mean feat considering like we were scraping the barrel just to like put an 8 on the water. It was pretty special moment that, and it was cool as well. Like even to add to the culture, it was our 125th anniversary for the club.
Was that year?
I think it was either the year before or that year. So we wore the special row suit that was the same colours as the
white
old
one,
Otago Railway stuff. So there was all these things that made like the perfect mix that you couldn't really repeat it again out of a small club.
Yeah.
And since then, a lot of those systems have unfortunately fallen apart for one reason or another.
Yeah, was that quite frustrating being there, having, you know, started at Hargest when Storm and Nathan, Andrew, and Andrew's crew were like winning and sort of taking through the rowing program at Hargest and getting to 7th form and being like, oh, who's going to come rowing? Oh, hardly anyone. Going away to uni, having 4 or 5 years?
Was it 2009 to 2013, so 4 years?
4 years, you know, going to China 3 times, going to Russia once, winning in Russia. Was it AK 8?
Yeah, so it was along the river through the middle of Moscow. I think it was a long distance, might have been 5 or 8k.
Yeah. Beating Yale?
Yeah, that one. So the China ones we raced like Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, but to be fair, they were alumni crews. So like, although
it should mean they're better.
Yeah, the who was that? It might have been the Cambridge crew.
Yeah,
was like full of the guys from the German men's 8 that had won world champs after world champs.
Oh, awesome!
Through like the late 2000s and had set world best times and stuff. Like they were proper big time international rowers. So it was competitive, but like some of the named crews, like the Yale crew, was like an alumni crew that was there for a piss trip. Like,
oh, okay.
It wasn't.
So it's a bit like going to the Singapore teens, like.
Yeah. It was a little bit like that.
Borneo teens.
But still, like the experience was cool. You met Olympians and world champions and stuff like that.
Whereas Russia, what was it? What were those? Crews
Russia, like? I think there might have been a lot more like Russian and European university crews.
Yeah.
That trip was a bit of a blur. That went quite quick.
Because of the vodka, or
that was part of it.
After the rowing.
But. Yeah. But like there was I think Kuspavia from Italy, Moscow University, St. Petersburg University. There were a few like military crews, and it was a lot more European the line up there, but it was sort of quite Eastern European. There weren't as many sort of Brits or anything like that involved there. But like we had a good crew and we did well, and
where you won.
Yeah.
So then going back to Otago and like working and training and being in this really good environment of people that had come through a system to see the school rowing fall down, was that quite frustrating?
Super frustrating. And
because you went along a few times, or was that while you were simple?
I went along. What do you mean?
Like, did you speak at assembly at all? Was that?
Yeah. Like I definitely tried to speak at assembly and get people involved. At various times, I tried to do recruitment. When I was, because I went back and coached after uni when I was actually starting work, and I find that girls were much better at getting interested. It was really, really hard to get young boys involved in rowing.
Yeah.
I definitely know rowing is not cool, which is pretty important when you're in high school. But as you say, when you get to go to China, you get to go to Russia. I had offers to go to, to look at going to Harvard at the end of high school, and there's plenty of examples of rowers in New Zealand that have gone to Ivy League or major public universities in America.
And you had like Trans-Tasman Series.
Trans-Tasman Series, yeah.
With Australia.
Go to Adelaide. Andrew went to Sydney.
He rowed the Olympic course in Sydney.
Yeah, all kinds of really cool opportunities, but it's just no pickup.
Yeah.
No pickup at all. And I think for me, I often wondered that because we'd grown up in a rowing family, Dad's a coach, Andrew was successful, Mum rowed, she's also an official. We had Rob Waddell stay at our house.
Yeah, that was awesome.
When we were kids, we had dinner with the Everswindells.
Yeah.
Like
our great granddads on one of the first photos in the rowing club.
Like we're so entrenched. We coxed as kids. We grew up wasting time at the rowing club while Dad was out coaching. We were so entrenched that I think it's hard for us to try and communicate to like normies or whatever, like just people that have no idea about the sport.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's not like it's on TV, eh?
Yeah. Or like communicate in a way that's effective why it would be good. Why they might enjoy getting involved in this thing. Because like for me, it's just that's what I grew up, and then I did it, and I really enjoyed it, and I did all these things. There was never the barrier of like, well, it's kind of weird. Like you're going backwards, you're
doing the same motion for 2,000 meters.
Yeah, and it sounds like everyone knows that it's heaps of work. Like they train just as much as swimmers.
Yeah.
Early mornings, like all those things, to try and communicate to people why it would be worth it to get involved in something like that. I mean, we always tried to like subtly say that like it's a sport. There's really good looking people walking around wearing lycra.
Yeah.
But even that wouldn't really pick it up. Often the best thing was that like if some of the hot girls at school got in rowing, then you might get some boys come along. So, but how creepy is it to go to school and be like, okay, like, who are your hottest, coolest girls? We're going to try and get them to start the sport.
Yeah, you can only do that while you're at school. Even then, that's questionable.
Dodgy. Yeah,
that's questionable. Yeah. So, you worked in Southland for how many years?
Excluding summer work at TY?
Yeah, so as a professional. Oh.
So 18, well, almost 2 years.
Oh.
So I finished uni, did one final club season.
Yeah.
Because like part of my interview, I kind of said that like, look, I've done this rowing thing. I've been successful domestically. I've tried to get into the international part of it and failed a few times. I'm not going to be trying anymore. I want to apply the same intensity that I have done to the sport to my professional life now, because I don't think I can continue applying it to rowing, and also I want to do well at something different now. But I want to do one last season and give back to the club that effectively gave me all this opportunity. So I went into nationals and then started work the week after nationals, so that would have been end of February 2014, and then we moved to Christchurch after Christine finished her pharmacy degree on Labour Week in 2015.
Yep.
So that's
a year and a half.
Yeah, 18 months. Really.
Yeah. And so you were doing trig work in Fiordland?
Yeah, we...
So did you shoot a deer? Or you were just part of a successful hunt?
I was a part of a hunting party.
Yeah. But even so, you were part of a successful hunting party before I was, and I'm dead keen on hunting. And have you been out since?
No.
I remember you telling me that you were butchering up a Owen League at home, and I was like, you bastard.
Yeah. So no, because we've got this guy Jono, who's the branch manager in town now, Jonathan Hodson, and he's he's the kind of guy that knows pretty much everyone in Southland. Like, he's half the reason we have as much work as we do down there. Because like people are like, oh, we're doing a job for this family. It's like, oh yeah, no, I know him. We're good cobbers. I went to school with him, or he married this person. Like, just classic
Invercargill stuff.
Southland mentality.
You don't want to be going out with your cousin.
Well, like he's like from Southland through and through, like an old, and he's Ngāi Tahu.
Yeah.
And he married Orion from Bluff.
Yeah.
So that's like brave. Apparently, like he actually says, like we really had to like look through the books just to make sure, like we're definitely not related. Okay, we're sweet. We're like, you're not my cousin.
And the Ryans are related to the Fluties, who are the powerhouse people.
Yeah. Well, like they pretty much are on half the shipping vessels out of Bluff and Stewart Island and the Chathams, and like they're like a very, very strong Bluff family. But yeah, so Jono is dead keen on his hunting and fishing, and you go out to Te Anau to do these jobs, and we'd stay at Davy Gunn's camp while we did work in Milford, and so you do like you weren't not working hard, like it wasn't all hunting and fishing, but you'd do like a 10-hour day in the field, and then you'd be like racing back up through the tunnel to go stalk the riverbeds around Davy Gunn's camp, or he would organise for a boat to be sitting at Milford so that you could go out and like pull up some cray pots, or he'll bring his diving kit and everything like that. So you'd do a big long day, and then you'd be out doing that, or you'd be up doing some mouse fishing in Te Anau by the dam, or fishing the rivers for rainbows on the way back to Te Anau from Milford. And then one job that we did, we were doing a topographic survey for tsunamis in Milford, because they've identified that when the upline fault goes, or any severe earthquake happens in there that causes landslip, there's a risk of tsunami just because of the walls of the fjords. You get a big massive rock hitting that, it's going to cause a massive wave that comes up the fjord. So we're trying to figure out where an escape route could be that people could get up to a safe RL. And we're cutting lines through native bush all day and working pretty hard, doing some sort of 10 to 12 hour days, and we'd jump into the truck at the end of the day, and we raced up through the tunnel up to it slips my mind, what's the valley that Davy Gunn's camp is that goes out to the lake?
Out to the lake.
Where they want to do the road?
Let's look on maps.
It's at the foot of the root burn.
Tiwai, but no,
that's National Park.
That's the National Park.
Your hunting listeners will think I'm an absolute idiot.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't been in there. No, don't know. Apple Maps ain't going to tell me.
Anyway,
Google Maps.
there's a spot.
Yeah, don't tell where the deer are.
Yeah, there's a slip somewhere in Fiordland. It was like Jono, me, and Harry, who's like the boss's son, who was like, I think he was like 15 at that point, or maybe even 13. Like, Jono's like full of beans, like full noise guy, and he's practically just running up this track to get up to the slip, and we're like busting a gut trying to stay behind him. It was weird thinking that was deer stalking, because it was effectively just mountain running.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I don't know how any deer is gonna
still be there,
not hear us huffing and puffing and crackling and running. But I guess it's all soft underfoot. So yeah, we're running up this hill, and then we came to a slip, and Jono, so like, we were quiet as we walked out onto the slip, but it wasn't not hurried. Jono sees a deer probably about, 100 metres up the slip to his left, and Harry and I see a deer like right in front of us off to his right by like 20 metres
Yeah.
or less, and we're like trying to be like, Jono, like, there's a deer there, and he's like looking way at like this uphill shot, and then the deer like finally like looks, sees us, bolts, and then that movement gets Jono's attention, turns, bang, bang, and then it was within seconds this thing was down.
So it was our hind, was it?
Spiker.
Spiker, yeah. Really.
Must have had a bit on it, because I remember we, like, not a lot, but it might have been just growing at that point.
Yeah.
Because we took the antlers to feed the dogs, because he's got a lab, and Harry's family.
So it was spring, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about this time of year.
Yeah.
And Harry's got a dog as well, so they cut him up to give to the dogs. And so, yeah, we'd just done a 12-hour day, run up this hill onto the slip, saw 2 deer, like it seemed easy as, bang bang, and one's down. The other one the one up the slip ran from the sound, and
Well, potentially hunting's ruined for you.
yeah. Well, like the other thing was, the whole time is one of the chopper outfits is up in the tops, and all they're doing like culling.
Yeah.
And all you can hear is just like bang, 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 bang. And you know that it's just, you know, let the bodies hit the floor up on the tops, and you're thinking like, why is Ryan having so much trouble? Like, he must be really bad at this, because apparently there's deer absolutely everywhere.
Possibly.
Yeah.
There's no deer in the Kaimai, so that's a well-known fact.
Or was it like Harware Valley where you were?
Oh no, we saw deer there.
Right, it was too far away.
Yeah. Timaru Creek, we have seen a lot of deer, and don't tell you, Jenny, but a bit of tar in there as well.
Oh, right.
But that's been 1080 since we've been in there. Whether that makes a difference, who would know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Blue River, we did not see any deer.
Yeah.
But again, as I've said many times, we were also too pussy to climb a hill, so probably our own fault.
I mean, yeah, we also went for a few, like we went for a walk up the Kepler way while I was with Jono. Like, so I've probably done about, it's probably like the 4th walk that we'd done, looking for deer with him, and he definitely knows all the spots.
Yeah.
He's got some farming mates, so he knows, he's got access to be able to fill up his freezer as well, but he's always super generous in terms of just sharing his spots, and like taking someone like me for a walk.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
And he got into free diving a little bit, but then found out your car sickness hadn't left you.
yeah. So we went power as the Barsdale boys. They took me power diving out the back of Bluff. It's pretty funny because we went out there, had a good day, but like I spent the first half hour just taking on salt water. Like you're on the banks of the Fovo Strait, and amongst the rocks, and that's very rarely calm. And it definitely wasn't a calm day. It definitely wasn't, because you know how rough it can get there. But like we weren't getting worked, but there was definitely a bit going on.
Was there any tide there, or not really?
Not really.
Just wash.
It was pretty close in, just wash.
Yeah.
And so we were doing some snorkeling for powers, and there was heaps there. That was my first real exposure to. I mean, I've been in the ocean before, but like we never had boats or anything like that. So it was my first exposure to like being in the ocean and just seeing fish all around, and powers everywhere, and just going, there's a whole universe here.
There's a shit on.
And I can't see it from the bank, but if I just get under the water, like there it goes. I mean, I guess we'd done the gone power picking at Riversdale
Beach, yeah.
But that was cool. But like I was just having so much trouble in that first half hour, just trying to relax and like chill into the surf. The next half hour was good. I figured out how to like get my breathing and my relaxation going, get some time under the water to get a few powers up. There was plenty there. filled up some bags, and then that third half hour, the first half hour, was paying for it. I was so sick. I had to lie in the bank and just. I can't remember whether I vomited or not, but I was very green between there and home. And then it turned out that afterwards, where we were was actually near the sewer outlet for Bluff, as well as where the outlet for the old meatworks was, which is a famous great white shark.
Oh, nice.
Hunting ground from back in the day.
Good.
So we didn't see anything. I don't know whether anything saw us, but I was kind of after that. Yeah, I don't know if I'll go back there.
It's probably fine.
Yeah, it's probably fine. They were good pubs. Made some power patties. But yeah, it's kind of you have those experiences. I've had to go on a rally car before.
Yeah.
In a rally sprints. It's an amazing experience. And then after it, the mate who got me riding the car was just he did the rally of Catlins and stacked it on the first corner, and his co-driver broke his neck.
Oh shit.
It's that kind of thing. I'm I would have had a different perception of that whole experience.
Probably just as well. Were you sick being the co-pilot seat of that? Or were you just that full of adrenaline that the movement didn't worry you?
No, that was amazing. It was the Ashley Forest rally sprints where you just go up a hill, down a hill. It's a minute race, effectively. Wow. And there's a nice drift at the top of it. I'm not even into motorsport, but my mate Alex really is.
Mitsubishi's, eh?
Yeah. And he follows F1 and rally, and he's a mechanic. I talk to him about cars, but I don't know anything about it. And he's just so passionate that I was kind of always man, I need to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know, and he's really passionate, and lots of people like it. So he invited me out to the Ashley Forest rally sprints. And I was yeah, sweet, because I kind of asked him what's a good stepping on point to figure it out. He's come to this. It's it's a good day on the hill. Yeah.
Had he promised you the ride in the car? Or
no.
Oh,
so he texted me that morning. He's I got you a ride. I thought, what? Then he picked me up. He's yeah, I got you a ride in Will's car. Will? Who's Will? Yeah, oh, Will's our mate. He's racing today. He needs a co-driver, so you're it. I was sweet. So we went there and walked up the hill, watched a few people come past. It's a pretty cool event. There's a bunch of old classics. There's different classes that people enter. So there's classic cars and different levels of modification and all-wheel drive and stuff like that. Right up to Hayden Paddon in his fully juiced up Hyundai, which he was still driving at the time. Plus,
it's electric.
Yeah. Plus a local guy who had an 800 brake horsepower engine in there. Apparently Hayden Paddon had an engine specifically made, but had blown it up on the Tuesday or something like that.
Right.
So he's in his second car, which only had 400 and something horsepower.
Oof.
And he was still driving technically enough that he broke the course record a couple of times and won the thing and beat the guy with the 800 brake horsepower car. It's pretty cool.
Levels.
It's you go up to the top and watch these guys just fully crossed up, drifting, but they're going at breakneck speed. I mean, so when I did my co-driving, it was in this old Celica that had been it was it had a cage, and it had a bunch of switches, and it sounded pretty cool, and it went pretty fast, but it had a paddock racer-esque nature about it. But, it hauled ass, and cool, man. You're just digging. You could feel the wheels digging into the inside of the corner. Use the handbrake to do this drift turn at the top because it's a hairpin turn, and then you're going over 180 clicks downhill on a gravel track with a steep bank on your left, another steep bank going up on your right, and you're thinking, well, if you fuck this up, it's game over. I mean, he gets in the car and you're in your overalls, and he has this like helmet with full on like neck support which buckles in, and then he just gives you like a standalone helmet.
Hold your neck.
and he's like, righto, you know the drill if we crash, eh? I was like, what's that? He's like, well, like, I'll put your arms like this or sit on your hands. Don't put your arms out or you will lose one. It's like,
Oh shit.
okay, cool. But
Right.
yeah, I'd still recommend it. It's amazing, but yeah, very, very fast, very dangerous. I don't know how they get past health and safety. They must sign some serious waivers.
Yeah. So we've been to the gym tonight, but you're gonna swim part of, or do the swim part for the Wanaka Challenge.
Yep.
And when did you give up swimming?
Well,
To go to rowing, basically.
I was never any good at swimming because I was like a string of weasel piss as a kid,
And it was all the strong kids that were good. So I
And
did,
you grew very fast.
yeah, I did club, and then I started doing a little bit of squad, but I still get smashed. And so I think I pretty much
You
stopped.
never made it to the morning, eh?
I might.
Wanaka?
Were the Oscar squads, were they afternoons, were they?
You started in the afternoon and then you started doing morning training.
Yeah, I might not have done mornings. And then I think I stopped squad. I might have even stopped club, started water polo and started rowing.
Yeah.
So it would have been about 13. But did water polo through
Good sport.
through school. Wasn't any good at that either. It definitely wasn't quick. All the actual swimmers were way quicker. And I guess since then have kind of used swimming as a cross training for
Yeah.
rowing. So when I was in Dunedin, I'd use it for cross training. And
So you can still enjoy swimming a bit, eh?
yeah, man.
Don't have too much black line fever.
My best man Matt and I used to use swimming as cross training because he did coast to coast, and he also, well, that's not swimming, but he did an Ironman as well. He did Wanaka Challenge.
Yeah.
But back when it was an Ironman.
Wow. Yeah.
And he's not a swimmer, and he kind of got hooked on swimming through that process.
Yeah.
And decided that just that combination of controlled breathing,
Yes.
low impact resistance training was a really good form of cross training for him.
Yeah.
And so when I went back to, like, I used to do swimming for cross training while I was rowing a little bit, like in Dunedin I'd go to Moana Pool.
Yeah.
If I had a sore back or something. Even in Christchurch I'd go to Jelly Park or the Graham Condon Pool and do a few K. But it was more when I went back to Otago to work after uni, and I kind of stopped rowing hardcore. Matt and I would go to the pool every Friday night, bang out 2 to 2.5k,
It's decent.
and then have some craft beers and, and a kebab afterwards, and just completely undo any fitness we'd done. But it was a really good hang.
That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, or like the mental health aspect of it was awesome,
Yeah, that's wicked, man.
and the physical health probably balanced out.
The food and the beers.
Food. But yeah, there was a really good part of our week, and we kind of would do just the odd bit of training, like we'd do an erg together just to keep fit, we'd do the swim together to keep fit, we might go for a row for fun, do the odd run. I was coaching at the time, so I might do the odd session with my crews.
Yeah.
And then we entered, it's a nothing regatta, but we entered the Interprovincial Champs for a bit of a laugh that year, and we beat these guys who were in the New Zealand under-21 team with no training, and we're like, fuck yeah,
Still got it.
swimming on Friday, still got it in the pier. And then a few weeks later, my mate Scott and I, so Scott's the guy that took me power diving, we did the Cromer Clyde race, and we did that in the pier. And we were the fastest two-man boat down the course and did like a really slick time out of doing all this kind of semi, like not serious training, but just like
I
regular exercise.
I can partially relate to that when I quit swimming and then I went to the Southland Champs that year and then qualified for Div 2s and went to Div 2s and won a bunch of medals.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something, like, I reckon once you've got an aerobic base, you can train like 5 times a week, so long as you're really thoughtful and the rest of your life isn't a fucking nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
you can be healthy and train 5 times a week and actually be pretty good.
Yeah.
And since then, like, I've just always...
That's the part I struggle with. Just being pretty good.
Yeah. Right, you got to be the best.
Yeah. We'll at least try.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Train elite.
Yeah. Since then, swimming's been kind of... I've had a good feeling about it. And Matt and our other guy that we used to row with, who was part of that 2012
Ollie.
Nationals, Ollie, ex-New Zealand rower, we were going to do... We'd always kind of said we're going to do the National Rowing Champs again.
Yeah.
And the first, like, just for a bit of a laugh, the first time it didn't happen was because Matt got skin cancer. So then it was like, oh, right, one of our crew might die.
Yeah.
So that was kind of freaky.
That's heavy.
Then he beat that, and then so it was like, righto, next year we're going to go to Nationals. And then it came back again, which was pretty upsetting. But he got on that drug Keytruda, and that zapped that. I think it had like just been funded like within the last year, so that helped him beat that. He had a year's course of that, and once he got sort of cleared, I was like, right, we're going to do Nationals again. And then by that point, I'm in Christchurch, Ollie's in Queenstown, Matt's in Invercargill. We were going to probably put Scotty in the crew, Scott Barnsdale.
Yeah. Power
guy / Common Clyde guy. I think he was between Queenstown and potentially going overseas.
Not anymore.
So I think he might still be going to Australia as baby mama's over there.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, it was like a logistical nightmare. So we're like, right, let's do the Wanaka Challenge.
Yeah.
Mark, you're useless at running and biking, and you're not as useless at swimming. You're it.
Did you get to do cycling?
I did cycling, not competitively, but I did cycling as cross training for rowing.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you bought a bike.
Yeah, bought a bike.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. But I mean, I could hurt myself on a bike, but I wasn't by no means fast.
Yeah.
Matt's a handy cyclist. Ollie's a handy cyclist. He's a regular coast-to-coaster now. So Ollie's going to do the cycling and Matt's going to do the run because he's the fastest runner.
Nice.
So yeah, been doing a bit of open water training. Mum's done that swim before, so we'll be doing a few swims with her, which is quite cool because she used to do that with Granddad.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew about it, but then I heard more about it when Granddad passed away earlier this year.
Why, in terms of swimming around in Wanaka?
No, like that when Mum was kind of like after uni and stuff.
Yeah.
Her and Granddad used to go and swim together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they'd like meet each other at the pool in the mornings and do training together and stuff like that. So I thought that was quite cool.
At the baths, actually, Mark.
The baths,
yeah,
the baths.
Invercargill baths.
So I know there's like something about that the idea of going for a swim with Mum.
No, that's cool.
And repeating that seems quite cool.
Indeed.
And is it like because she's now semi-retired and works at a swimming pool? There's actually a lot of nervousness on my side that she's going to beat me.
That's what I tell everyone, not about her beating you, but that our mum's retired from working and gone back to her university job of lifeguarding.
Lifeguarding and swimming, yeah.
Yeah.
She's now like semi-professional swimmer.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, she's pretty quick.
Oh yeah, she's got. Apart from she was telling me on Monday, that she struggles to breathe on bilaterally, which is trouble I had as a swimmer and probably why I developed a hip problem. But she's the opposite to me, left side. I was right side, but yeah. Apart from the single side breathing, she's got good technique. Does Julie? She won a few Masters medals.
Yeah, well, I mean,
when we were young.
I think because she did the mixed team last time, and she caught up with whatever I mean, there's definitely mixed abilities do those.
They qualified for the Worlds for the age.
Yeah. Like she was quick out of the water to the point that I think her cyclists and running were kind of like, oh, jeepers, we actually have to.
We're going. Her downfall, she said to me, is that where they used to hold it, the run wasn't too bad, but she didn't like it still.
Yeah.
And now it's at Glendu Bay. There's going to be a big ass run up the bank, across the paddock, over the road to Monica Station, and she's not looking forward to that.
Yeah, I watched her do that. She was not a good nick. Because I think part of it is your equilibrium gets all out, because you've been effectively semi-weightless on your belly.
Yeah.
And then you've got to stand up, and you're like puffed. Yeah. And you've emptied the gas tank. You've got to stand up and like balance on a lakeshore and run with like you up to your waist in water. It's just a flipping nightmare.
And all the like little terraces that are on the lakeshore, and sticks and crap.
So you watch it. There's people falling over.
So it's a bit chaotic.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, I mean, you see the triathletes do it, and they're like ready to roll. But a lot of people don't realise what's involved there.
Yeah,
I got a heads up when our friend Tim had done the Motatapu challenge.
Is that Tim Outer?
And they had a portage. So you swam a lap, and then you had to stand up, run along the bank for like 20 metres and jump in. And you could see him like stand up and just like start absolutely blowing. And then it was only a 20-metre run, and you could hear him huffing and puffing, and then you go back around again, and then you have to get up and run up the bank to tag your friend in. And he's a very poor runner, but he was...
I used to play soccer with him. He's not that
bad. Let's just say he hasn't run since he played soccer.
Yeah, there might be more at.
Yeah.
He's a good hunter.
Yeah. And he was absolutely blown to the point that he ran up to his teammate, fell on the ground, and the idea was like, you take the transmitter off my ankle because like my job is done. And he came out of the water
delusional,
front of the pack. But then talking to him after, he's like, that run is just horrendous. You lose all your rhythm by doing the portage, and then the actual run up the bank, like your equilibrium's all out, you can't run, you've blown your load doing the swim, and you mentally don't actually think about trying to run up a bank.
You got water in your ears, you take your cap off. Yeah. So you're not on Facebook anymore. Does B1g0C still exist, or that doesn't exist anymore?
B1g0C at bebo.com.
That's where you can find you.
Yeah. I've got an Instagram account. That's the B1g0C one. I don't contribute. I just consume.
It's good for on the shitter.
But you got it. But I actually deleted that app too.
So you can still follow you, but there's nothing.
Yeah, I can follow you. You're not going to get anything out of it. I've got a Twitter account there somewhere. I don't think I've contributed to that. I think I messaged, was it a guy Ben from Hodaki back in about 2014 about what was this song? That's probably my one tweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. So, yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. hit the bell for notifications.
Yeah. It's never going to ring.
Awesome. So, what's the thing that shows up when things are going good, Mark? What's do you live your life by any quotes or ideas or ideals?
I think you could probably go back to what we talked about earlier, where I think everyone knows their process when things are going good. And I think for me it's more being conscious of not deviating from that process. So that kind of dancing with the one that brung you type thing. It's innate for me.
if I feel tired, exhausted, shitty.
You're hungry first, check that.
Yeah. Like, do I need calories? Oh man, I'm intermittent fasting. I guess I can't use that as an excuse.
Have you slept?
Yeah, have I slept? Yeah.
You're an omnivert, so have I seen too many people? Have I seen nobody?
Yes. No, what do I know is going good? For me, it's quite innate. I'll start having negative thoughts, and then I'll probably start behaving shitty, and then my wife will be like, "Why are you being like this?" And I go, "Oh yeah, we need to change a few things." By we, I mean me, but you're going to help, because that's what happens when you marry someone. You get dragged into their problems. I mean, my problems. Yeah, I think that'll be it. Stick to my process, and then be mindful.
Be mindful, yeah, of where you're at.
Of where I'm at. Do those regular checks.
Cool, man. Drive safe to Army tomorrow.
Beautiful Palmy. Thanks.
Nice. Legend. This is cool.
I'll see you in 4 weeks.
Yeah.